Hello, everyone. Welcome to 0 a pointless football podcast for fans and non-fans alike. Where we pit someone who knows some football, that would be me, Fixxxer, against someone who knows nothing about football, that would be Tulkas. What's up, Tulkas?
Rejoice!
Where are you at right now?
I am in Ivy City, Washington, D.C.
Sounds fancy.
That's right, I'm recording this from the District of Columbia, and I'm in a hotel room, and people have been ranting in Spanish outside my door, so that might happen, and I don't have headphones, so it's pretty ghetto setup I have here. My setup, not making judgments on the Spanish. Yeah.
Or the podcast, because the podcast is not ghetto at all.
No, the podcast is not ghetto at all. I'm only passing judgment on myself, but yeah, it's gonna be a bit derpy, but we'll try.
Wonderful. All right, let's talk about some scores from last week. I was an awful 1-3. You were 2-2.
Ooh, look at me.
And it's worth noting that Diesel was 3-1.
Oh, what was Diesel's? Tell us about Diesel's picks.
I don't have them on me, or do I? I do. He picked the Colts, Cowboys, Bears, and Chargers. So Bears was the only one he botched, and I can't really blame him for that one.
Interesting.
Indeed.
I'm proud of my little Diesel man. It's interesting that the first time he's fighting for himself rather than me, he actually does well.
Precisely. All right, let's see how he does this week. We can get started in the divisional round of the playoffs. This Saturday at 4:35 p.m., we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts, they won in convincing fashion against the Texans 21-7. Marlon Mack had 148 yards and a touchdown against a tough Texans run defense. They face a much better team this week in Kansas City, who had a bye last week. This should be a shootout. We'll have an interesting matchup between the Colts' solid offensive line versus the Chiefs' sack-happy D-line. And I'm getting a call from Kentucky, and I normally have my phone muted. Oh my god.
Hey, Kentucky! I've been to Kentucky. It's a silly place.
As have I. All right, the Chiefs. They need to keep pressure on Luck and not give him time to throw. The Colts' mediocre secondary needs to not give up big plays. Kelsey versus the Colts linebackers. It should be a good show, I think. And lastly, controlling the clock and turnovers. Whichever team can keep the other's offense off the field will win. I'll go with Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, the Native Americans should be good at taming horses. I mean, that's sort of like what they did. Like, you know that animated movie, like Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron?
I remember that.
Yeah, it's like the whole plot of the movie. Like the Native American gets on, like Spirit is trying to be tamed by the white man, but Spirit doesn't want to be tamed by the white man. But then like the Native American gets on Spirit, and they're instantly best buddies. And then they make like a stirring escape or something. It's been like 20 years since I saw the movie, but yeah. However, you know, so the usually the Colt and the Native American, like they should. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to be racist, but I'm not sure. It's pretty interesting. Like you would think that like the Chiefs would be able to tame the Colts, but then what if the Colts, they have their Hoosier blood, they refuse to be tamed? Then the Chiefs can't tame them by force. They're used to going with nature rather than against nature. And I mean, Kansas. I mean, what does Kansas have that Indiana doesn't have? I mean, I'm going to go with the Colts. I'm going to break the meta, break the game, go with the Colts. Hopefully, not be racist. Good talk.
All right, staying on Saturday, 8:15 p.m., we have the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Rams. The Cowboys beat the Seahawks on a wild card weekend, 24-22. They did it on the back of Zeke and their defense, giving up only 11 first downs and holding the Seahawks to just 73 rushing yards. They faced the Rams, who had a bye. The Rams felt invincible for half the season until Kupp went down, and they felt quite beatable since then. All you got to do is shut Gurley down and you're good. course, he's one of the best in the league, and that's not easy. Dallas has a good run defense, so expect this to be tough for Gurley. The Rams' run defense has been vulnerable at times too. I expect Zeke to have a good game. Though I also expect Donald to make Dak's life a nightmare. I think this is rather simple. Gurley has a good game. Rams win. He doesn't. Cowboys win. I'm going with the Rams.
What is our mantra, Fixxxer TV?
The Rams can fly.
That is true. However, the Cowboys, they have lassos, so maybe they could try to lasso the Rams. They're going.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's a pretty interesting matchup. I think I have to pick the Rams. The Rams, they've never let me down yet. I just have to go with them. I'm sorry, Diesel. I'm sorry, Little Diesel. But if you had shown me the same good fortune you have shown yourself this past week, perhaps I would have gone with the Cowboys. Ooh.
There we go. Moving on to Sunday, 1:05 p.m. LA Chargers at the New England Patriots. Chargers dominated Lamar Jackson, at least for 3 quarters, and they beat the Ravens 23-17 last week. And now they face the Patriots, who had a bye. Probably the best game of the weekend. Rivers and Brady should both have good games, as usual. Again, clock control and turnovers will be important. New England had one of the best turnover ratios this year, but neither team is really especially turnover prone. I think we're looking at who can run the ball effectively and convert third downs. The teams are about equal on that stat too. I think I'll just go with the Patriots at home.
Yeah, the charge wasn't such a big thing in the American Revolution, but it sort of was. My understanding is that normally I'd be looking this up, but I'm much too tired to do that. So the Revolutionary War era armies, they get their muskets, they form up in a line, they have 2 or 3 volleys, and they charge with bayonets. So the charge is pretty powerful, and honestly, I'm not sure to what extent, if the Chargers try to charge the Patriots line, they can set off, a big volley of bullets that can just decimate the Chargers' line. Definition, not the Roman definition, and I don't know, it's pretty difficult. I to accurately answer this question, I would have to look at the role of cavalry in Revolutionary War, which again I usually would do. Now I don't really have that ability. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to say Chargers. I don't know why. I just think the heavy cavalry era. Heavy cavalry was still more relevant. Heavy cavalry was still relevant pretty much through the Napoleonic era, and it was pretty obsolete by World War One. But it still just did some stuff. I was actually in the Dover, the Delaware state capital, in their archives, looking at the cavalry was doing stuff in World War One. So I don't know. Yeah, Chargers win.
Didn't the French get annihilated because they kept the cavalry in World War One?
Well, yeah, they got annihilated, but what I'm saying is that, it's still being used, and then, the Napoleonic era is one, level of advancement back, and it was still sort of pretty effective. I played Napoleon Total War, the cavalry did stuff, and then, the Revolutionary War is, maybe one era removed from that. So, I think that the thing is that, in the Revolutionary War, neither side really had cavalry. I mean, we had that whole thing. I remember during the week that I had my narrative about Julius Caesar invading Britain, we had a whole thing about the effectiveness of cavalry during the Revolutionary War, and the thing is that cavalry was pretty effective. It's sort of middlingly effective, but neither side had a whole lot of it. And if we have chargers as a well-trained military that neither side would have really been able to field in the Revolutionary War, I think that the chargers could do work. I think, if they just get, one solid charge, they can just punch through the Patriots line. Again, I could be very wrong on this. Usually I don't like to discuss things when I'm this blind, but oh well.
Do you ever read the Ask Historians subreddit?
Yes, I do.
Did you see the one from I don't know, a week ago about soldiers who participated on the front lines of that era when it came to shooting muskets in line battles? They they said that it was not considered a death sentence, and the soldiers were not particularly afraid of being in the front of those lines because of how inaccurate the guns were.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it's harder to hit a moving target. But then, you have your chargers charging in. And I mean, yeah. So that's what I think. I think that the chargers, and I mean, once the chargers collide, I mean, it's not like like spearmen, like there were a few pikeman divisions used in the Revolutionary War, I know, but I don't think they were nearly common enough to pose an immediate threat to the Chargers. I mean, I suppose the main problem is that since they're happening in New England, the Patriots can just sort of try to scatter into the hills and fight a guerrilla war, and then the Chargers won't really be able to use their charge to advantage. But I think the Patriots, they're just going to try to do what they do best, their pitched battle line, and the Chargers are just going to charge. The Patriots won't be able to hit them. And then, yeah, this could really go. There's probably a lot of variables I'm not taking into consideration, but I'm just going to go with the Chargers. Yeah.
Lovely. All right, let's move on to the Sunday afternoon game, 4:40 p.m. The Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles win in shocking fashion when the Bears kicker missed a last-second field goal, submitting to the NFC North kicker curse. They face the Saints, who had a bye last week. The Eagles' wide receiving core is a little beat up, but they're all expected to play. New Orleans will be wanting blood after the way they got knocked out last year, and Foles and the Eagles are trying to prove last season was no fluke. But I think Philly is in trouble. They don't have an especially good run game, and New Orleans' run defense is top-notch. This is all going to rest on Foles. Lucky for him, the Saints' pass defense has regressed significantly this year and was one of the worst in the league. It'll be up to the Eagles' hobbled wide receivers. I think two of Jeffrey, Tate, or Ertz need to have a good game. On the other side, I think Philly can slow down Kamara, but I'm not sure they have the answer for Breeze and Thomas. I'll pick Breeze at home for the win.
So we've seen this matchup before in Week 11, and I don't really remember what happened there, but I remember there were a lot of patron saints for Eagles. And I was like, wow, the patron saints, they have a lot of people that know the Eagles' way. They're going to do well. And then they did well. And then I think that suggests that the Saints will do well now, especially since the Saints have been, they've been pretty well. They've been doing their wool load. So I think the Saints.
The Saints spanked the Eagles earlier this year, and you picked the Eagles. That's what happened.
I did? Oh. Yeah. I'm surprised. I thought, oh well.
So you're going with the Saints this time.
Yep. We take data and we alter our hypothesis. That's the whole point of doing this thing, so we can see, whether the Eagles or the Saints do win. It's important not to stay committed to a wrong hypothesis. It's the scientific method is all about incremental improvement, and
Right. But there are multiple points of data, and if you don't have them all, then you can make an incorrect decision.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
So, what do you think I should do today in Washington, D.C.?
I don't know. I've never been to Washington, D.C.
Well, if you did go to Washington, D.C., what would you want to do?
Isn't the hero Randy Quaid in Washington, D.C.?
I don't know what that is. Who he is?
Have you seen the movie Independence Day?
No, I'm afraid not.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Have you ever gotten a ticket for a traffic-y, parking-y ticket-y thing?
Actually, I got a parking ticket in the city of Philadelphia once.
Ooh, tell me about it.
I drove to Philadelphia from Detroit for a concert, and there was no parking in the area, so I kind of parked. I was thinking I was parking on a side street that nobody goes down, and there was no parking there. But I needed somewhere to park, so I left it there. I went to the concert, I came back, and there was a ticket, and I'm like, well, damn, I can't really do anything about this ticket because I want to drive home. So I just paid for it over the mail.
Oh, okay. I also got a ticket on the way here, and I've been ordered to appear in Jackson County, Ohio.
Ohio, people from Michigan don't like Ohio because of the way they handle their ticketing system.
Tell me more, Fixxxer TV.
Well, I don't know if it's changed because I haven't been to Ohio in 15 years, so maybe it's changed. But it used to be that if you were out of state and you got a ticket in Ohio, you had to pay the ticket on the spot, like to the cop.
No, that has changed. Okay. So
Well, you said
fun.
you got a parking ticket. That would be different.
No, it wasn't a parking ticket. It was like I was on the highway, and there was the officer was in the pull-off lane, and I should have moved over to the left lane, but I didn't move over to the left lane, and it's an oopsie.
Oh, so you didn't give them space.
Yeah.
So you almost hit a cop on the way. Nice. Well done.
Well, I didn't almost hit the cop, but I was too close for comfort, and I'm willing to accept my penance and improve. And the moral of the story is, even as Tulkas is willing to accept his penance and improve, so should Fixxxer be willing to accept his penance and play Moonlighter in Polish. Thank you for watching this podcast, everyone. I will see you in, I think, 2 weeks, unless I may be in Jackson County, Ohio then. So we might have another road trip podcast, so that's fun.
What do you mean
Bye,
2
everyone.
weeks? We have games next week.
Oh, we do? Oh.
Yeah.
I thought we had so when's our week off?
I think it's the week after next.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, then we will see you next week. Do you have any last words, Fixxxer the elf?
That's it. Bye-bye.
Bye!